Hello everyone, I am Dr. Munish Kumar Bharadwaj from School of Engineering and Technology of IGNOU. Today we will be discussing durability of concrete. As you know, in our last lectures we have discussed the properties of hardened concrete, and in this we have discussed the strength of concrete, how it is affected, what are the factors that affect the strength of concrete. Then we have discussed the deformation behavior of concrete. Today we will be discussing durability of concrete. So as you know, durability of concrete is an important property of concrete, because whatever good concrete you prepare and whatever good workmanship you follow for construction of any building, if the concrete is not durable, then it is of no use. Let us see what is the importance of durability. Concrete should be durable and withstand the conditions for which it has been designed without deterioration. The durability aspect of concrete is also vital, as it has indirect effect on economy, serviceability and maintenance. So these are the factors or the reasons because of which the concrete which we are using for construction, that should be durable. Durability aspect we will learn in the following factors. First is permeability of concrete, chemical attack on concrete, then thermal properties of concrete, then resistance of concrete to freezing and thawing, then air entrained concrete, assessment of frost damage, resistance to erosion, abrasion and cavitation, cracks in concrete. So all these factors will decide that how durable the concrete is. Out of these, we will be focusing our discussion on the first three, that is permeability of concrete, chemical attack on concrete and thermal properties of concrete. So first of all, let us see what are the factors affecting the durability. There are external factors as well as internal factors. External factors means the environmental factors, and internal factors means that causes the deterioration within the concrete. Normally concrete fails due to a combination of these factors. Let us see what are the external factors or the environmental factors. External factors include physical factors, chemical factors and mechanical factors. Example of external factors are first weathering, then occurrence of extreme temperatures, fire and frost action, then attack by natural or industrial liquids like sulfate, seawater, acids, oils and sewage. Then exposure conditions, and finally abrasion and the cavitation. So these are the external factors for consideration of the durability of concrete. Means these factors will affect the durability of the concrete. As far as the question of internal factors is concerned, internal factors are alkali aggregate reaction, because here it is occurring within the concrete. So we have to focus on what is occurring within the concrete. Now no external agency or external factors is playing any role here. So these internal factors are alkali aggregate reaction, difference in thermal properties of aggregate and cement paste, and permeability of concrete. So these are the three factors which are internal factors. So let us begin with permeability of concrete. Permeability of concrete determines the penetration of aggressive environmental agencies and hence its vulnerability. That how the concrete is vulnerable to the aggressive environment. For example, the relative ease with which concrete can become saturated with water, depending upon its permeability, decides the extent to which it will be affected by frost. This ingress of moisture in reinforced concrete in presence of air results in corrosion of steel and hence cracking and spalling of concrete occurs. It also decides the extent to which the aggressive chemicals will be able to attack it. The permeability of concrete is also of great importance in relation to water tightness of liquid retaining structures, roofs and toilets which are in touch with moisture or water. Hydrated cement paste consists of gel pores and capillary cavities. Means the hydrated cement paste consists of two things. It is having two type of voids or pores, you can say, gel pores and capillary cavities. So if we focus on gel, then what happens here? The gel has porosity of 28.9%, but its pores are so small that appreciable amount of water cannot pass through them. So gel pores do not contribute to the permeability of the concrete. Extent of capillary cavities depends on water cement ratio. At lower water cement ratio, the capillary cavities are less in diameter as well as in extent. They get filled up within a few days by the hydration products of cement. On the other hand, due to higher water cement ratio, means more than 0.7, large cavities are formed which gel is unable to fill and they remain empty and are responsible for the permeability of concrete. With progress of hydration, permeability reduces. Here in this table, you can see the reduction in coefficient of permeability of cement paste when we are taking the water cement ratio as 0.7 with the progress of hydration. If we take the fresh concrete, in second column you see the age of concrete in days. So if we consider the fresh concrete, then coefficient of permeability measured in meter per second is 2 into 10 to the power minus 6 meter per second. If we look at 5 days, then it becomes 4 into 10 to the power minus 10, means it is reducing. If you look at 8 days, then it is 4 into 10 to the power minus 11, again reducing, going down. If you look at 24 days, it is 1 into 10 to the power minus 12, going down. And finally, permeability coefficient is 6 into 10 to the power minus 13. So as you see, with age, the coefficient of permeability is decreasing. The value of coefficient of permeability, as you saw, that even at 8 days is 4 into 10 to the power minus 11 meter per second, and it is so small and comparable to a rock like granite. That is, physically no water will penetrate through it. But this is contrary to what is observed in actual practice. In actual practice, basically concrete exhibits much more permeability than stated in this table. So what are the reasons for that? Because we saw in the table that with age the permeability is decreasing, and at 8 days it is almost comparable to the permeability of a rock like granite. So where from this permeability in the concrete is coming? So let us see the causes of permeability. The causes of permeability includes formation of micro cracks due to long-term drying shrinkage. Also, Rupture of bond between interface of paste and aggregate due to differential thermal stresses will cause the permeability. Cracks developed on account of structural stresses will also cause permeability in concrete. Entrapped air due to insufficient compaction also cause the permeability, and volume change in concrete on account of various other reasons also cause the permeability in concrete. Now let us see what are the different methods for improving impermeability of concrete. One method is that we can use pozzolanic materials. The leaking of calcium hydroxide is prevented by this, and hence porosity is controlled when we are using the pozzolanic material. Second method is by air entrainment up to 6%. Means if we are doing the air entrainment in concrete up to 6%, we can control the impermeability, or we can improve the impermeability of the concrete. Another method is by high pressure steam cured concrete. This high pressure steam cured concrete exhibits better impermeability due to coarser gel and hence lower drying shrinkage. So because of that reason, we can get the good impermeable concrete. Now let us see the chemical attack on concrete. How chemicals affect the durability of concrete. In normal building construction, concrete is not exposed to any serious chemical attack. Means if we consider the general building construction. But in certain special situations, concrete is exposed to the chemical attack to different degrees, such as structures in sea, sulfate infested soils, then tanneries, means where that leather work is done, then industries producing, handling and storing chemicals. So in these situations, concrete is exposed to the chemical attack. So out of different chemical attacks, let us first consider the sulfate attack. Sulfate attack on concrete takes place when the structure is in contact with soils containing alkali, magnesium and calcium sulfates, which are in solution form due to groundwater. Because these chemicals when come in contact with groundwater, so they form solution of these chemicals, and due to this our concrete is affected. So let us understand what is the mechanism of sulfate attack. The sulfates of various bases react with cement in different ways. How? Sodium, potassium and ammonium sulfates first react with calcium hydroxide to form gypsum, which in turn reacts with hydrated calcium aluminates to form calcium sulfoaluminate. As you can see here from these equations, calcium hydroxide is reacting with sodium sulfate and forming the calcium sulfate. Then this calcium sulfate is reacting with tricalcium aluminate, and here it is finally forming the calcium sulfoaluminate. So here you see that it is changing the basic nature of the hydrated cement. Magnesium sulfate has much more active action, as it reacts not only with calcium hydroxide and hydrated calcium aluminates, but also it decomposes the hydrated calcium silicates completely. As you can see from this equation, tricalcium silicates, here it is reacting with magnesium sulfate and finally it is completely decomposing this hydrated calcium silicates. So that way you see that by the attack of these sulfates, the hydrated components of the cement are changing their chemical nature. Because of that, deterioration is taking place. Now let us see what are the adverse effects of the sulfate effect. The product of reactions, that is gypsum and calcium sulfoaluminates, have considerably greater volume than the compounds they replace, and hence the sulfate attack leads to expansion, because now the volume is increasing, so expansion in the concrete will take place, and consequently the disruption of concrete or the deterioration of concrete will occur. In case of magnesium sulfate, because of very low solubility of magnesium hydroxide, the reaction proceeds to completion and hence is very severe compared to other sulfate attacks. Means effect of magnesium sulfate is more severe in comparison to the other sulfate attacks. Also, the rate of sulfate attack increases with the increase in the strength of the solution. Means as the strength of solution of these sulfate compounds increases, this attack will increase on the concrete. A saturated solution of magnesium sulfate can cause serious damage to concrete with higher water cement ratio and in a relatively short time. That you can see here that it can harm more in relatively short time, while lower water cement ratio concrete can withstand this attack for 2 to 3 years. So that is the effect of that water cement ratio. That at higher water cement ratio, it is more quickly than in comparison to the water cement ratio when it is low. The rate of attack also depends upon the rate at which the sulfate consumed in the reaction is replenished. Because if the sulfate consumed in the reaction is being replenished, then rate of attack will be more. If it is being replenished slowly, the attack of sulfate will be slow. So let us see how we can control the sulfate attack. There are different methods. First, we can control it by using sulfate resisting cement. This cement possesses low C3A content, tricalcium aluminate, and which provides the most efficient method of resisting sulfate attack. High resistance to sulfate attack has been found for Portland cements containing not more than 5.5% of C3A. We can also control the sulfate attack by using the quality concrete. Means if we are using well-designed, mixed, placed and compacted concrete, then we will get a dense concrete, and this concrete will be impermeable, and then it would exhibit higher resistance to sulfate attack. For getting a dense concrete, the concrete must have a low water cement ratio. So that way, by using a quality concrete, we can check the sulfate attack on the concrete. We can improve the resistance to sulfate attack of concrete by adding the pozzolanic material. And using the pozzolanic material gives the improved resistance to sulfate attack, which is obtained by addition of pozzolanas to the cement. This helps in removing calcium hydroxide and thus increasing imperviousness of concrete. Also, we can use air entrainment method. Air entrainment to the extent of 6% has beneficial effects towards the sulfate resistance. This is due to reduction in segregation, bleeding, improved workability, and general improved impermeability of the concrete. So because of the improvement in these properties of the concrete, air entrainment helps us in increasing the resistance of concrete to the sulfate attack. Another way is high pressure steam curing. High pressure steam curing improves sulfate resistance by changing C3AH6 into a less reactive phase, and also by removal of calcium hydroxide through use of silica. Silica is always mixed when high pressure steam curing method is adopted. So that way high pressure steam curing helps us in improving the resistance of concrete to the sulfate attack. Now let us see the effect of seawater attack on concrete. Concrete is extensively used in construction of marine structures like harbors, docks, breakwaters, and jetties. You know it. The concrete in seawater environment may suffer due to attack of dissolved chemicals on the product of hydration, then crystallization of salts within the concrete under conditions of alternate wetting and drying. Due to alternate wetting drying, then crystallization of salts within the concrete are affected. Mechanical attrition and impact by waves. Because waves are always hitting the concrete, so because of this mechanical attrition occurs and impact load on the concrete comes into the picture. Then due to this seawater, corrosion of reinforcement may occur. So these are the effects. Seawater attack consists of expansion due to sulfates and leaking due to chlorides. Because of these sulfates and the chlorides in seawater, these are affecting, and what they are doing, expansion of the concrete. Most severe attack in seawater occurs just above the level of high water due to crystallization of salts. So we are seeing here that at what level the concrete is being affected, in what way. So first we are considering the concrete above the level of high water, means when waves are high. So above this it is going to attack more severely. Then the portion between the low and the high water marks is less affected. But the area below the low water level, which are continuously immersed in seawater, are least affected. So that way you see the different type of effect or at different level of the concrete. Corrosion in reinforced concrete occurs due to percolation and attack of seawater on steel reinforcement, which results in higher volume, thus exerting pressure on surrounding concrete, causing lack of durability. Means durability of concrete goes down because of the rusting. Because on rusting, what happens, that volume of reinforcement increases, and due to this higher volume, what happens, it exerts pressure on the surrounding concrete. So let us see how we can improve the durability of concrete which is to be used in seawater. We can do it by use of cement with low C3A content, low water cement ratio and richer mix. Adequate cover to reinforcement should be given. Then we can use pozzolanic materials. Also we can use high pressure steam curing for the prefabricated concrete panels. So by adopting these methods, we can improve the durability of concrete which is to be used in seawater. Now let us see the effect of oils and acids attack. Let us first consider in this category the action of mineral oils. Mineral oils like petrol and petroleum distillates seriously affect the hardening process of fresh concrete but do not attack. Lubricating oils which are entirely of mineral origin do not attack concrete. Creosotes which contain phenols may have some adverse effects on concrete. Durability of concrete tanks used for storage of mineral oils is improved through improvement of imperviousness of concrete by using rich concrete and through surface treatments like application of 4 coats of sodium silicate. So by applying the sodium silicate in 4 coats, we can increase the resistance of concrete to the mineral oils. Now let us see the action of organic acids on concrete. Action of organic acids on concrete is corrosive. While formic acid is more corrosive, the tannic acid and phenols are only mildly corrosive. Oleic and stearic acids, though insoluble in water, but have some corrosive action on concrete. In case of acetic acid, lactic acid and butyric acid, the severity of attack depends upon their concentration and temperature. Now let us see the action of vegetables and animal oils on and fats. Most of the vegetable oils cause slow deterioration of concrete due to presence of a small amount of fatty acids. Rancid animal oils containing considerable acid content produce corrosive action, which is also true in case of some fish oils. Means the similar effect is seen in case of fish oils. Cottonseed oils rapidly attack Portland cement concrete. This is important, that cottonseed oil attack rapidly the Portland cement concrete. Now let us see the action of molasses. Concrete tanks are used satisfactorily for storage of molasses, which indicates that action of their sugar content is not of much consequence, though it causes gradual corrosion. All that you have to ensure here is that the concrete is well cured at least for 28 days and that additional imperviousness is imparted to the inner surface of concrete tank by treating it with tar or asphalt or sodium silicate. So this method you can use for making the concrete resistance to the action of the molasses. Let us see the action of sewage on a concrete. If sewage contains more than 150 ppm of soluble sulfate salts, sulfate attack may occur. But domestic sewage rarely contains this amount of sulfate salts and hence is not detrimental. However, hydrogen sulfide gas emanating from sludge digestion tank can promote the formation of sulfuric acid, which can attack the concrete surface above the liquid level. So the concrete which is above the liquid level, that can be affected by this sulfuric acid, which will be formed in the sludge digestion tanks. Concrete sewers running full are not attacked. Certain industrial waste containing higher concentration of sulfates are injurious to durability of concrete. Concrete pipes used for sewage are made from well compacted rich concrete of low water cement ratio. That is what they remain unaffected for long time. The formation of sulfuric acid can be avoided by ensuring sufficient quantity of flow, means flow of sewage, proper ventilation of sewers, and by avoiding stagnation of sewage. So if you are following these 3 methods, then we can avoid the formation of sulfuric acid. Now let us see the thermal properties of concrete. Concrete is used extensively in situations where temperatures are either very high or very low. Some of these are fire pit, chimney, chemical factory, nuclear reactor, construction in hot regions, construction for cold storages. So these are the situations where concrete is facing either very high temperature or very low temperature. Thermal behavior of concrete in these situations gives us a good understanding of durability of concrete. So that is what we should understand, this process, that how the variation of temperature is affecting the quality of concrete. Let us see the thermal conductivity of concrete. The ability of concrete to conduct heat is indicated by its thermal conductivity. It is measured in joules per second per square meter of area of concrete when the temperature difference is 1 degree centigrade per meter thickness of the concrete. The thermal conductivity depends upon the composition of concrete with respect to type of aggregate, amount of aggregate, and moisture content. In case of normal weight concrete, variation of thermal conductivity with density is not appreciable. But in case of lightweight concrete, it varies considerably because of appreciable quantity of air contained in it. If we look at the conductivity of different materials, then basalts possesses low conductivity, dolomite and limestone possess average conductivity, and quartz possesses high thermal conductivity. Conductivity increases with increase in moisture content. Now let us see the coefficient of thermal expansion. Too much of thermal incompatibility between aggregate and paste causes differential expansion and contraction, resulting in disruption of interface bond in these two phases. Means the bond between the aggregate and the paste is affected because of the difference in the coefficient of thermal expansion of the aggregate and the cement paste. Hence it affects the durability of the concrete, because if there is a differential change or there is a difference in thermal coefficient of the ingredients of the concrete, then certainly the durability of concrete will be affected. Thermal coefficient increases with increase in water cement ratio and varies with type of aggregate used. So these are the two factors in water cement ratio and the type of aggregate. Now let us see the fire resistance of concrete. Fire resistance of concrete structures is primarily dependent on three factors. What are these three factors? Capacity of concrete to withstand heat, conductivity of concrete, and coefficient of thermal expansion of concrete. So these are the three factors which primarily control the fire resistance of the concrete structures. In case of reinforced concrete, type of concrete and cover to reinforcement play a major role. So we have to focus on these two things, that what type of concrete we are using, and second this thing is proper cover to the reinforcement. High temperature gradient causes differential expansion and separation between surface and the interior. Means if there is a high temperature gradient, then there will be differential expansion and separation of the surface and the interior may occur. Heating of reinforcement and consequent expansion causes loss of bond and loss of strength of reinforcement. So bond as well as the strength of reinforcement is affected by the heat. The best fire resistant aggregates are basalts, dolerites, dense limestone and blast furnace slag aggregate, and also broken bricks we can use. Concrete does not show appreciable loss of strength up to a temperature of 300 degrees centigrade, but the loss of strength may be 50% or more at about 500 degrees centigrade. So this is the effect of heat, that up to 300 degrees centigrade not much effect, but at 500 degrees centigrade you see the loss of strength up to 50% or more than that. So this way we have seen, we have discussed the durability, how it is affected by various factors, external factors as well as the internal factors. So this way we have understood the durability. So thank you for watching.